Thank you. Hi, welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us this week for our program. We're glad there's people out there like you, citizens that are interested in what's happening in the cities in Northwest Community Television's viewing area. It is important for good government to have citizens that follow what's happening and then let their city council know when it's issues that are important to them. Now, tonight we're going to do something a little different than we usually do. We're going to talk about an important area for city council, setting the city's budget. It's important that you have some general information about your city's budget and its budgeting process, because the city's budget is going to determine ultimately how much taxes you pay, but it's also going to determine how many services you get. And sometimes that's a balancing point, things that take a lot of discussion, and places where you as a citizen might want to give some input to your city. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview, and the city budgeting process ends in December when the city council has a hearing and then adopts the budget and sets a levy for next year. Now, during the first part of the year, the city staff and the city manager are hard at work in putting together their plans for the next year. When we get about halfway through the year, they will start presenting what they would like to see in the budget to the city council. Those meetings usually happen at work sessions that you can go watch in and listen and learn if you are interested in the process of budgeting, or if there's a particular area of the budget that's very important to you. Come September, each city has to set a levy limit, and it can't be any higher than that. But then they'll spend from September to December determining what the actual parts of the process are. Now, we're going to go in and hear about the budgeting process from a number of different cities. Now, Maple Grove, like other cities, it is, or I think you probably just finalized your budget for 2014. What steps does the city have to take till you get to this point in December?
Well, normally our process starts fairly early in the year when we start talking about, in general terms, the budget and what we're going to need for the following year. Then usually out in June and July, it becomes much more formalized from our staff saying this is what we need, this is the increases or the decreases that we see should happen. We ask our directors of our different departments what additional jobs or do they think they need, or what jobs do they think that they could cut. And we do both. I mean, this year we eliminated 2 more positions, and so we added a couple, but we eliminated a couple. And so then in August and July, we as a city council will start talking about the budget and going through it and sort of giving our input on what we see should be increased, what we should see should be decreased. And then come September, we have to have, by state law, we have to approve a preliminary budget by essentially at our first meeting in September, we have to approve that preliminary budget. And what that does is that sets the maximum amount that we can spend in a year and what that levy can be. And then we have to set a final budget in December. So between September and December, we'll have a conversation or two again about, well, is there anything that we want to cut from the budget? We can't really add anything, but is there anything that we want to cut? And then in December, our first meeting in December, we'll set a final number through a public hearing, and then we'll actually approve the budget in the second meeting. So we did that last night. We approved our final budget for next year at last night's meeting.
Yeah, it's a long process with a lot of input and a lot of discussion in it, right?
It is. And we try to make sure that all the decisions we're making are informed ones, and we try to be very careful with all the money that we spend because obviously it's important to the people that we spend their tax dollars wisely.
And what will the tax levy be, or what will happen with taxes in Maple Grove for the coming year?
For the average person, they're going to see a 72-cent decrease. So, I mean, I think that essentially it's fair to say that it's just a flat budget. For the average person throughout our city, they aren't going to see their city taxes go up, their city taxes go down. Some may see a slight increase, some may see a slight decrease, but essentially we have a flat budget from that perspective. Our budget did go up a little bit year over year, but that really has to do with some expansion of the community itself.
Sure. And there's a lot of factors that go into city budgeting. People complain about what you levy, but there's how much houses have risen in value. There's also the various other entities like the school district and the county, because they all come out of the same budget.
Right, and so
the same taxes.
So when people see their property tax statement, they'll notice that not only is there the city tax portion, but there's the county tax portion. Right. There's a school district tax portion, and there's several special taxing districts, the mosquito control district, Met Council. There's a series of additional taxes as well. And in Maple Grove, for the most of the citizens of Maple Grove, there was 2 bond referendums that were passed for Osseo in the fall election, so they're going to see some changes there as well.
So we'll encourage people to keep that in mind and see where various parts of their taxes go, and if they have concerns, it's a whole process for a whole year, so they can step into the process as the year begins, right?
That's right. And any time throughout the year, they can express their concerns, and we'll listen to them, and that's what we're there for. Right.
Do you hear a lot from citizens about budgets now and tax levies?
I would say that, we oftentimes probably hear more actually in April and May when they receive their property tax statements on their homes. Than we do at the budget hearing time in September or December, because I think it becomes a more real number for them oftentimes when they see their house valuation going up or down, and they don't think it's right or the proper amount, and we hear from people then. But otherwise, certainly in September, December, we oftentimes hear about certain expenditures that people think should either be higher or lower.
Yeah, and it's a balancing kind of thing that the city council has to do with the staff's help.
It is, and we have to give it some good thought and hopefully make good decisions.
So you've finished one year and you're ready to start another.
Yeah, that's really how it works. We flow right from one to the next, and on to the next year we go.
Right. And I thought we'll take a few minutes now to just talk about a process that all of our cities are undergoing and just getting underway now is the budgeting process. Because you're going to be setting up the budget for 2015.
Yep.
Maybe you can tell people about the beginnings of the process and what's happening.
Well, we will have our first work session in June
Okay.
to discuss what's coming our way, what large expenditures we're looking at, what the CIP looks like, the capital improvement plan looks like, and we'll set priorities for 2015. What's going to be important to the council, what's going to be important for the community, and how are we going to get there? And it's all very high level at this point.
Right.
The next month, the next couple of months, they will be the directors and their divisions will be working on setting their wish list, their budgets, what they're going to come to the council and ask for. In August, each department head comes to the work session and discusses what they need. One of the instances was the police chief last year came to us and said, hey, they're phasing out our portable radios. Each radio that the officers carry is about $3,500.
Wow.
And as they're phasing those out and bringing in new ones, this is all of a sudden a very large cost. And it's not an option not to switch them out. I mean, when they're saying we're changing, we're changing.
Yeah.
So the chief came and said, we know that this is 2 years out. In 2 years, we have a deadline. I would suggest that we switch half over now, half over next year. And this way we can share the burden, and here's how I plan on paying for it. And so it really, this current council works so well together, not just with each other, but with the division heads as well. And it's okay, you want to do this, that's fine. How do you purport doing this?
Right.
And we don't want them to come to us and say, well, this is what I need.
Right.
We expect them to come to us and say, this is what we need, and this is how we're going to do it. we've empowered each of these department heads to tell us how they feel they can do it or how they should be able to do it. And it's completely up to the council to say yes or no. And we have seen some magnificent budgeting. We have seen some really innovative thinking. And I know that our folks are listening to other association members.
Oh, sure.
Because we're seeing new ideas. And that's one of the great things about having the younger generation of department heads. We had a large group of retirements within the last 18 months, and that group was incredible. When I was very concerned when they were all leaving, what are we losing? And the historical knowledge. Our city manager is incredible, and our mayor, of course, has been with the city in one position or another, whether it's the planning commission chair or as the mayor for quite some time. She's incredible. And so we haven't lost that sort of knowledge. We've gained new insights. And with each of the new directors that come in, Director Rader, Director Fournier, and our HR director, our HR manager, they're all doing wonderfully, and they're finding ways to save us money. They're finding ways to do new things, and it's exciting to see them do this.
Yeah, because there are people concerned about the budget but not aware of this whole process going on. So I thought if we bring it up now, and there's probably not a large group that want to follow the budgeting process, but they can by coming to your work sessions from now through into the fall, right?
Absolutely.
So the third Monday of every month is a work session.
Yes.
And so if people are concerned about the budget or want to know what's happening or why you're going to do something, that would be a really good meeting to go to follow it.
You bet. Also, on our website, the city's website, we have agendas, and they can go to City Council, go to the agendas page, and they can look at the packet, the same packet every council member is looking at. And not only does it have the entire budget on that packet, it has justifications for why people are asking for what they're asking for.
Another source to go look at.
Absolutely. And this can answer a lot of people's questions. Now, it's just an informed public is good. And people, when I was out passing out some stuff, some items for the city on a road construction project, I had a citizen stop me and say, hey, why do we do water bills every month? Why don't we save the postage and do them quarterly? I said, I don't know the answer to that. And I went back and I asked. And they said, well, because then they get too large and people don't pay them. And we found that, when we were doing it quarterly, we found that there was more people not paying. So we found out that it's in our best interest for the city to do it monthly. Got back to the citizen and explained it to him.
So as we go into this budget, there's nothing that's, you can't touch this, you can't touch that, at least in my head. We're at a point that this year is a very difficult year, and then things start to change, level out again for the years after. At least that's our projection. And so nothing can be so sacred that you can't say, we need to look at this. But even saying that, it sounds really good, but it's really hard to cut a budget that you've been trying to hold down. So that's a difficult deal. And if people want to follow that, there's a number of ways they can follow that. Last night, was our first real look at the budget.
Let's go by the steps that are going to happen. Because they're kind of starting right about now with most of the cities, right?
So remember a little earlier I said we have a 2-year budget. With a 3-year rolling budget where we project out, so we're looking out 5 years. We're in the second year of the 2-year budget. So the theory behind the budget is there shouldn't be any surprises unless something unique happens. Well, one of the surprises this year, and we knew we did it when we did it. We had a discussion about the fire department model.
Oh, right.
And so that changed what was done a couple years ago. But anyhow, last night was our first look. And you should be able to go to the city website, and there'll be budget information there.
Oh, that's a good source of information for people, right?
Yes, it should be. And then if they have additional questions, you just call the city and ask your question. You can come up to the city council meetings. And if you have a concern about the budget, because it won't be on every agenda, and if you come up on a night when it's not on the agenda, you can share your concerns or your thoughts, because before each meeting we have an open forum.
Oh, right.
But if you come to talk about it on a night that it's on the agenda, then you can't speak about it during the open forum. You need to wait for it like everybody else, including us. And so what happens is the first week of September, I think it's the first week, it might be the second week, where we have to adopt our preliminary budget.
Yeah, by state law, right?
By state law. And so what I believe is a good practice is you adopt it at this point a little higher than you anticipate it to be, because things can happen, unique things can happen. And so that gives you some room to maneuver if you need to. So we have to adopt the levy by law.
Right.
And then we have to adopt the final levy in the early part of December. My goal is for the city to adopt the final levy at least a week before we're required to by law, in case something unique happens.
Right.
Then you have a chance to deal with it. So between adopting the initial levy in early September and then the final levy in December, it's an annual thing. We work on the budget, we work on the numbers, we give some direction to our city manager, and then you figure it out.
Right.
And all the time, in my head, we have to think about what is the best value, and then not just the best value, what are the programs you really need to have, and what is the level of service?
Right.
Now, my idea of the appropriate level of service isn't necessarily consistent with other council members, but that's the exchange that takes place. And that's a healthy thing.
Oh, yeah, to get different ideas.
Yeah, and sometimes you change your mind, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And you just kind of work it out. So
what are you looking at as a possible budget or levy amount for 2015?
What I'm looking about and what came to us last night are different.
Okay.
I'm looking at a level less than what came last night. But it came last night at 9% increase just for the city portion on a median value home. That's not going to hold up. We're not going to do that. But now we have to wrestle with it. And there's some things that make that very difficult. We changed the fire department model, and so that's driving the cost of the fire department services up at a higher level than inflation. Actually, quite a jump this coming year. And so you look at that, and so you're going to have more staffing hours.
Right.
And the result of the model changes that we've made up to date has cut response time in half. So do you want to keep that? And I think so, with medical calls in there.
Oh, definitely.
And then there's other things that are happening. So just the additional cost for health insurance could be over $300,000.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's because you have to plan for the worst, and we don't know what's happening with the Affordable Care Act. And so there's a lot of things that happen that you don't have control over.
Oh, yeah, that interact with your decisions.
Right. One of the decisions, and I talked about that earlier, where should we stand within that salary range in the city? And I think we need to be right at about the middle, maybe a little below. Well, we were at 0% for a couple of years and 1% because of the downturn.
Oh, yeah.
And we've lost ground compared to other cities. So if you're committed to that, and I think we need to be to maintain good staff.
Right.
And also to be fair.
That's important too.
Yeah, it is. And so those things are that's the part of the pressure that's pushing things up. So then when you you take out the police and fire and you look at that, there's a lot of pressure to push it up.
Would be, right.
So we need to take a real look at overall total staffing. I don't know how else we can do it. And that's not a happy thing for me to say. But that's kind of the deal.
Well, it's what you're dealing with, right?
Yep.
So you got to be realistic.
Yep.
Now, moving on to something that all our cities are working with and almost ready to complete is your 2015 city budget.
The budget.
And when does the city start on it? Because we're trying to let people know, so if they've got questions about it, they might know next year what's happening. When do you start?
The city manager typically starts like January or February talking to his department heads. And what he does is he asks them for a list of what you absolutely have to have. What would you like? If you just could wish for something, what would you? And then that takes a while, and then he goes back and looks at that and says, that's not a very good idea, or yes, I agree, we should have that. So this process goes back and forth with the city staff until about June or July. And then they start presenting drafts to the city council. And at that time, we start looking at, by September, the city has to set a maximum levy. Now that maximum levy is how much is your budget, your city budget, going to increase. So in New Hope, we've set the maximum levy at 3.95%, which is about a $600,000 increase over last year. But the interesting thing about that is because home values have increased in New Hope. People are actually going to see about a 4% decrease in their city property taxes, which took me a while to figure out.
So good to explain to people.
Well, because when we talk about the levy, that is really how much money it costs to run the city. And once we know how much money it costs to run the city, then we take and we divide that amongst all the property owners. Well, if your value of your house has gone up, we get to spread that out just a little bit more. So actually, your taxes your city taxes are going down. Now we don't have any control over of the school or Hennepin County or the state. These are just simply city taxes.
Yeah, because it's very important to know that it's kind of roughly, roughly about 1/3 for the city, roughly 1/3 for the county, and 1/3 for the school district, and then a couple other little districts.
Now on December 1st, which is a Monday night, at 7 o'clock, people can come in and talk about the budget if they so choose. It's also online, so they can go online and look at the whole budget, or they can go and get the budget packet. We don't send that out to everybody because it's quite big, of course. There's a lot of details. I have to tell you that basically New Hope is very frugal. And we like being very frugal. We don't spend money foolishly, but there are some things that need to be done, such as keeping our roads, making sure our lights are on, making sure that the sewers are, that's a good thing, making sure the sewers are running properly. So there's all kinds of things that we do. We have a very good police department. We pride ourselves in that. One of the things that's really a good show of that is Duck Days. We don't have any major problems like some of the other cities do because we have this excellent police department with a reserve department that works with us. We have an excellent fire department. Those things all cost money. And so that's partly why we go through this, so that we're spending money where it makes sense and not spending it where it doesn't.
Yeah, so like if some people, at this point you're almost at the end of the line, but if some people are really interested in this issue, because there are some people that are very more financially knowledgeable than I am, that they can follow this whole process. And you have work sessions where they could get explanations.
So they're always open to the public. You can always get budget information from us being the council or staff. We try to run really open government so that if you have a question, when you come on the 1st of December, if you have something that you want changed and it makes sense, it can't just make sense to one person. It has to make sense to 20,000 people. Makes sense. We don't have to actually certify our budget until the 8th of December. And so show up and listen to the presentation.
And know where the city's money is going, because I think it's important. A long time ago I had somebody mention, probably what people are concerned about taxes is that money getting well spent?
I think it is, you know, because I watch the whole process, and I think they're very careful where they're spending it. We take great pride in having an ice arena, having a golf course, having wonderful parks, dance programs. These things, in some cases, they cost money. The golf course and the ice arena actually support themselves, but it took some money to get them to that point.
It did.
And so we like those amenities in our city, and they cost money.
Well, and that's what we wanted to encourage people. If you're concerned about it, get involved in the process and really see what's happening with the money in your cities. And then that levy that you set in September is a maximum, but you could make it lower if you wanted to.
It's 3.9%.
Okay.
3.95. We could make it lower. At this point, we've cut just about every place we can. So I'm guessing that's probably where it's going to end up, but that doesn't mean it has to.
Okay. So people should remember, December 1st, 7 p.m., City Hall.
New Hope City Hall.
And be there because there'll be a presentation made of the budget, so you'll see the breakdown of it. And then if you want to, ahead of time, go online, because you can see where it's coming from. Online. And then I think over the years, the City Council, working with the group that helps you with finances, has really simplified the budget so it's much easier to understand.
We go outside to a firm called AEM, and that's their main job. So we don't have a finance director. We find this is it's actually less expensive than the whole finance director and all the things that go with that. These people come in, they have showed us how to do the budget in a very open way. They guide us through each step so that all of the council is very well aware of what's going on in the budget at each step, as well as staff, of course, is really well versed on the budget.
We're glad that you joined us again tonight. I hope that you learned something about the city budgeting process that you didn't know before, and that you found places and ideas that you might want to follow up on. Be sure to tune in next week for part 2 of the city's budgeting process. We're glad that you've been with us, and we hope you rejoin us again. Bye.